recording. Here we go. Okay, so 332. Let's go ahead and write down 332. Get my pen here. There we go. So 332. How can I rewrite or undo it? We're going to learn. Last time we met, we talked about rewriting equations or undoing the problem and looking inside. So today we're going to do some fraction busting. Fraction busters. What are fraction busters? It's getting rid of fractions, okay? Or decimals. We don't like decimals either. So go ahead and write 3-121. We're going to do A and B right here. So A, we have negative 7.5 x squared plus 4.8x minus 0.3 equals, just a second, equals 2.5 x squared plus 10.02 minus 10x squared. Okay, we have a lot of things going on there, but we have a lot of decimals, right? And decimals tend to be like, oh, you know, is there a way to get rid of decimals? And there is, right? What's a way to get rid of decimals? We can multiply by like a factor of 10 to move the decimal point over, right? Like since this is just one decimal place that we need to move the decimal over to get rid of, to not make it a decimal anymore. But right here, we have to move it over 2 places. So instead of just multiplying by 10, let's multiply by 100, okay? So we're going to multiply everything by 100, the left side and the right side. So here's the left side and here's the right side. Okay, so we're going to multiply everything by 100. So if I take 100 and multiply it by negative 7.5, it's going to go 2 places over. So it'll be negative 750 x squared, right? And then I take the 100 and I multiply by the 4.8. So it's going to go 2 places. So that'll be 480 plus 480x. And then I multiply it by the 0.3, 100 times the 0.3, it's going to go 2 places. So that'll be 30 minus 30 equals, now I'm going to take the 100 and multiply it by 2.5. So I'm going to move the decimal place 2 places, right? Because we have 2 zeros, so it's moving it over 2 places. So that's 250 x squared. Then the 100 times the 10.02, move it over 2 places. That's 1002 plus 1002. And then 100 times 10, we move it over 2 places. So that'll be 1,000 minus 1,000 x squared. Okay, so you see all the decimals are gone now because we multiplied by a factor of 100 because we needed to move this decimal place 2 places. We only needed to move the other ones 1, but to get rid of that one, we multiplied everything by 100. So decimals are gone. So now let's combine like terms. Okay, so I see an x squared over here. Let me move it to the x squared over here. This is actually a smaller, negative 1,000 is smaller than negative 750. So I'm going to move it over plus 1,000 x squared and add it over here plus 1,000 x squared. And let me draw a line. I was terrible at drawing this really long line, so I'll use my drawing tool. Right here, I'll go boom like that. Okay. Okay. Now, when I do 1,000 minus 750, that's pretty easy. That's 250 x squared plus 480x minus 30 equals this stuff, right? 250 x squared plus 1,002. Okay, so next, okay, so let's let me change my color here. I noticed there's a 250x squared on both sides. So if I subtract this 250x squared and bring it to the left over here, minus 250x squared, hey, both of those x squareds are going to disappear. Should I use my line tool here? That's okay. So no more x squared, but we do have an x term over here. So what we're left with is this 480x minus 30 equals 1,002. Okay, so now we just have a simple linear equation to solve, 2 more steps. So let's add 30 to both sides, add 30, add 30. Okay. And I'm gonna continue over here just because I'm kind of running out of space there. 480x equals 1032. Okay. And then our last step, divide by 480, divide by 480. And that's not going to go in evenly, but I'm going to use my calculator. If you have a scientific calculator, there's a fraction button. The fraction button looks like this. It looks like A, B, fraction C, like that. If you can find that button in the upper left-hand corner of your calculator and you input this, put 1032 fraction button 480, and then you press equal, it will reduce the fraction for you. And it's going to make it into like 2 3/20, but I want to leave it improper. So I'm going to press second fraction button again. And it's going to change it to 43 over 20. So it's going to reduce. So you have a button on your calculator that will reduce this for you. It's that button right there. So if you have a scientific calculator, find that button. It's a very useful button. Okay, so that reduces down to that by using this button with that fraction and pressing equals, and it'll reduce it for you. Or you can, write it like this, 2 3/20 also. But this problem actually started as a decimal. So actually we want to change the answer to a decimal. So I'm going to do 43 divided by 20 in my calculator. 43 divided by 20 is 2.15. So 2.15. So since the problem started with decimals, I want to end with decimals. So yeah, change it to a decimal. All right. Usually I prefer fractions. Fractions are way better. But since this started as a decimal, we'll leave it as a decimal. Okay. 43 divided by 20, 2.15. Okay. That is part A. Let's do part B here. I need to erase this. So if you need to take a screenshot, go ahead and do so. I'll give you a second if you need to do that. All right, and I'm actually making a video recording of this too, so you can go back and watch the video if you want to. All right, let's do B here. Let's copy down B. Change my color again. Okay, B says 2,000 times x minus 24 plus 5,000 equals 18,000. 18,000. Okay, a lot of thousands here, a lot of zeros. Too many zeros. Let's get rid of the zeros, right? Like how many zeros can we get rid of, you guys? See, that has three zeros. Yeah, good. 3, right? 3. They all have 3 zeros. Like that has 3 zeros, that has 3 zeros. So how do we get rid of 3 zeros? What would we need to divide by?
1,000.
By 1,000. Good. So we'll divide this by 1,000. We'll divide this by 1,000, and we'll divide this by 1,000. Okay, so I'll put a division sign across all of them like that, and this whole thing is divided by. Okay, so since this has 3 zeros, I can cross out, all 3 of those zeros, right? So 2,000 divided by 1,000 will just be 2 times x minus 24 plus, and then these zeros will cross out with those zeros, so it'd just be 5 equals, and then these 3 zeros will cross out with those 3 zeros, so we just get 18. So that is called fraction busting too, because we're dividing by 1,000 to get rid of all those zeros. Now we have no more zeros to distract us, and we could just solve the problem. So let's go ahead and minus 5 first from both sides like this. And when I minus 5, I'm going to get 2 times x minus 24 equals 17. Okay, instead of multiplying the 2 out, I want to undo the 2. So since this is 2 times negative 24 or minus 24, I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of, I'm going to undo that 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. Okay. And that's going to give me x minus 24 equals 17 divided by 2, 18 divided by 2 is 9, so 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. That's not 17, sorry, that's supposed to be 7. That's a 7. Thank you. 18 minus 5 is 7, not 17. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So let me erase that and put 3.5 or 3.5. Okay, I'll just put 3.5 like that. There we go. And then I'm going to add 24 to both sides to solve for x here. Okay, so x is going to equal 24 plus 3.5 is 27.5. So 27.5. I'll put a box around our answer here. 27.5. Yes.
18 is not 7.
Sorry. I am totally messing up today. What? It should be 13. Thank you. Thank you. So let's change that. 13. Thank you. 13 divided by 2 will be 6.5. Okay. So 6.5 plus 24 will be 30.5. Good. That's better. 30.5. Thank you. 30.5. Okay, so if we put 30.5 there, if we were to substitute it back into our 30.5 minus 24, multiply by 2,000, add 5,000, we should get 18,000 to check our work. Okay, so if you need to copy that down or take a screenshot, please do before we move on to the last problem here. The last problem is 127. So we're skipping a bunch, and I'm going to skip A because it's a lot like the last problem. We just get rid of the thousands, right, and solve it. So that's pretty easy. So we'll skip that one. We're going to just do B and C here. So I'm going to look at B right here. Let's copy it down. 3-127. B is negative 2x over 3 minus x over 7 equals 17. Okay, we are going to use what is called fraction busting. Okay, fraction busting is when we want to get rid of these fractions. Okay, now how do we do this? Okay, what we're going to do is look at the denominators of our fraction, that one and that one. What is the denominator of our fraction? 3 and 7. So we want to find what the lowest common multiple of 3 and 7 are. What is the lowest common multiple of 3 and 7, you guys?
21.
21. So that's what we want to multiply. We want to multiply this whole thing by the LCM, the lowest common multiple. We're going to multiply by 21, this term by 21, and the last term by 21. Okay, and the reason why is, look what happens when I multiply this fraction by 21. This 3 is going to go into 21 7 times. And then I'm just going to multiply 7 times negative 2x is negative 14x. And the fraction is gone. Why is the fraction gone? Because the 3 went into the 21 and got rid of the 3, got rid of that denominator. Okay, this 7 is going to go into the 21. Let me switch colors here. 7 goes into 21 3 times. And so I can multiply this 3 times negative x to get negative 3x. Okay. That's how that works. And then I'm going to use my calculator to multiply 17 times 21 here. 17 times 21 is 357. 357, like so. Okay, and then I have like terms here, so I want to combine these like terms. Negative 14x minus 3x is negative 17x equals 357. Then we're going to divide by negative 17, divide by negative 17. That gives us 357 divided by negative 17 is negative 21. So we got a whole number answer for this problem. But they don't always turn out whole numbers. We get a lot of fractions on your homework. So x equals 21, negative 21. So I could plug in the negative 21 into here, and then I should get 17 when I plug it into the left-hand side there. Okay, So that is how you fraction bust. We'll do another fraction busting one. Here is C. C is right here. 5 halves x. 5 halves x minus 1/3 equals 13. So again, we want to use fraction busting. We want to get rid of the fractions. So let's look at our denominators. To get rid of the denominator, we have to look at what the denominators are. Our denominators are 2 and 3. So what is the lowest common multiple of 2 and 3, you guys? Just multiply them, right? What's 2 times 3? 6. So the lowest common multiple of 2 times 3 is 6. So we're going to multiply everything by 6. I'm going to multiply this by 6. I'm going to multiply this by 6, the 1/3 by 6. And I'm going to multiply the 13 by 6. You have to multiply everything by 6 to keep the equation equal and balanced. Okay, when I multiply this part by 6, let me change my color again. The 2 is going to go into the 6 3 times. And I'm going to get 3 times 5x, which is 15x. See how that worked there? That 2 reduced to the 6. So the denominator went away. It went into the 6 3 times 5x is 15x. Minus, because there's a minus here. This 3 goes into the 6 2 times. And I multiply it by 2 times -1 is -2, like that. Okay, so I already had the negative there. So -1 times 2 is -2. And then 13 times 6. 13 times 6 is 78. So equals 78. Okay, let's go ahead and add 2 to both sides like this. Add 2. Add 2. 15x is equal to 80. And unfortunately, 15 doesn't go evenly into 80, but it does reduce, right? 5 goes into both of these, so I'm going to reduce these by 5 and get 16/3. And we start as, yeah, we had fractions in the problem, so we'll keep our answer as a fraction and not change it to a decimal. Okay. So that is how you fraction bust with those two denominators. D, we could do D. I'm not going to make you do it. I'm just going to ask you, hey, what are we going to multiply? Look at our 3 denominators. We have 10, 5, and 2. So this time we have 3 denominators to deal with. So what is the lowest common multiple of 10, 5, and 2, you guys?
10.
It's 10, right? 10 goes into 10 is a multiple of all 3 of those numbers. So what you want to multiply by is 10. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to do this whole problem, but I just want to show you what you would do if we were to continue. Hey, I would multiply this by 10. I would multiply this by 10. And I would multiply that by 10. Okay, and then we would get rid of all 3 fractions. And then you would just continue just like the last 2 problems. Okay, guys? So that is the lesson for today. You are going to, I'm going to have to clear this out. So before I go on. So that's how you fraction bust. That's how you get rid of a bunch of zeros. That's how you get rid of a bunch of fractions. And then you are going to finish the worksheet, the odds right now, right? It's 1, 2, 3, it's 7 problems. So you have to the end of the class period. We're ending really early. So you have like 50 minutes to work on this. And I think it should not take you 50 minutes. It should only take you like 20 minutes to do these 7 problems. You're only doing the odds. Check your work here and submit them before the end of class at 1 o'clock. Okay, it says it's due at 1. And then don't forget your delta math